Good morning. After a sufficiently annoying trip with two little boys all the way to Berkey this morning, we finally made it. We've got to get that tractor and that pickup back to Waldron. So we're gonna leave the air seeder here and take the tractor and go. All right, that can sit there. We're gonna hook onto that field cultivator though. All right, so we have this little field cultivator here. It's like 26 foot, 27 foot, something like that. We did not actually use it this spring at all. Like we didn't use it at all. The idea was to keep it down here to Berkey so that we can just come down here with one of these tractors, spend a couple of days getting stuff fit up and ready to go to plant corn. In reality, that didn't happen because, well, we're always in a hurry and we want to do it in a day or two, not take 3 or 4 days to get over stuff. So we never actually used it. However, it is nice to have, and we have some small fields back up at Waldron and fields with electric poles in them that the big field cultivator is a little cumbersome and hard to get around. So we're going to take that back, not because we want to use it now, but because we might need it in the spring, and we aren't going to have any corn down here next year at Berkey. We planted all the bean stubble to wheat, and so we won't need a field cultivator down here in the spring. So there's no reason to let it sit there right now. We're just going to take it back, park it, and that way it'll at least be available to us. When we come back next year to get our air seeder that we're leaving over there, we'll bring the tractor back, we can bring the field cultivator back. It all works in my mind. We got to check the tires on it. It's been sitting here for a year and a half, so we're gonna check the tires. So half of our acres down here we planted to wheat this year. The other half is corn right now. We'll harvest that sometime this fall, and next year that will go to soybeans. The plan then is for all of that ground to then go to wheat next fall. So next year we will have wheat and beans here. 2 years from now we will have wheat and corn, and so that's why there's no need to have any tillage or field cultivator down here, because we only generally do that ahead of corn. And also that's why we're leaving the air seeder set in there, because we're going to plant wheat here next year. And so my plan is to plant all our early beans here. We'll start harvest here. We'll get all the wheat planted, and then we can take the air seeder back to Waldron, plant our wheat there, and be done. And it kind of eliminates a trip, right? By leaving it here, instead of having to take it back now and then bring it back next fall, we just leave it here. So anyway, it all does work. That's the idea. Brock's checking tires. Dad's going to take our black truck back to Waldron. I'm going to take my truck, go pick up my computer that is done, and then head back, and then we're going to start combining beans today. Jeez. We made it back, and Brock made it back. Was it uneventful?
It was good, right?
Uneventful is good. Did Rylan make it?
Rylan made it.
You didn't have to kick him off on the side of the road?
Nope.
Oh, that's good.
Didn't even come close to that.
Oh, that's good. I, however, had a less successful trip because apparently the computer store, we're going to call it, that I took my computer to get fixed, decides that they don't need to open before 11 a.m. on a Monday. Are you kidding me? It's ridiculous. And I was not waiting around. I kind of forgot that they opened late, and then I thought, oh, it'll be 10, and I got there right before 10, and then it was fine, but it was not fine. They did not open. So, yeah. No computer, and it's an hour away, so I don't know when we're going to get back to it, but no, what are you going to do? We're still plenty early. The beans are probably still a little bit tough, but we're going to try and get going because we got 110 acres in this field to do that I want to get done today. Oil level is okay. This engine seems to be using just a little bit. We've had to add it a couple of times this fall, which is slightly concerning, but I think it's okay. All right, we are off, so we gotta fight that residue that we were fighting last night on this first pass here. It should get better. I turned the spreader, I adjusted it so we're not spreading it quite so far and throwing it into the next pass of beans. Not that there's a next pass of beans next to where we're at here, but there will be. So this field, there's a piece that sticks out over there and another one over there. You can see on our map, we're right in here. We're gonna do these two chunks first. So this kind of area of the field is generally what we consider to be not the best, not as good. So I will see what they yield up in here, but they're so far they're still really good, and they're thick. There's a lot of material here. We've got to drive slow. It looks really thick behind us, just all the stuff coming out the back of the combine, just because. But I want to make sure we don't have our spinners turned up too much, because if we throw it along this edge, or that edge, then it'll cause feeding issues on the head on the next pass. So, yeah, these beans are leaning a little bit. Right in here, it's not too bad, but they're kind of laid over some. It's just because they got so tall and there's so many pods on them, and they're heavy, and the wind, and it just is what it is. We'll deal with a lot of that for this kind of beans. I'm starting to sound like a broken record here, talking about how good these beans are, and it's, if you don't know, you're not a farmer and you don't deal with this stuff regularly, an 8 may not look impressive, but when I was a kid, if we had 45 bushel beans, we were happy. You know, now anything over 55, and I'm pretty good with it. So to be seeing, you know, mid 80 yield numbers is astounding. It's hard to believe. All right, these beans are a little bit difficult to combine. No, I take that back. They're a lot difficult to combine, and it's because they're so big and they're leaning over. The biggest thing is that they're leaning over, and it's making them quite difficult to get the feed into the head, particularly when we're driving the other direction, coming back at us here, because they're kind of leaning this way. So here we get underneath them and they fall right into the head. The other way, I gotta use the reel and draw them into the head. Plus, there's so much material there. I mean, we're just crawling along, it feels like, and using all the power that the combine has got. I get the question, or seen the comment a few times about why don't we combine it on an angle or whatever. Well, mostly that was down to Berkey where you guys were saying that. Well, those beans were no-tilled, so we followed the corn rows. But usually when Phil plants, he actually plants on a little bit of an angle. And so when I harvest the rows straight, it's on an angle from the direction that they were planted, and that works well. This field, for whatever reason, did not get planted on an angle, and so I did set a little bit of a 5-degree angle in there just to try and help them feed in a little bit better. If they're leaning straight over with the rows, if I go on just a little bit of an angle, it lets those fingers grab them a little better and pull them into the head, and using that reel there. So we're trying this. It seems to be helping a little bit, but I get a nice smooth cut going the direction we are, and then the other way you can see we got a lot of, maybe you can't see, but there's a lot of stems and stuff out there. Not a lot of pods, but there's a lot of stems that are long and leaning over that we just can't get them. And I don't really want to have to combine this in one direction and drive all the way back and forth, all the way back to the other end every time, so we're not going to do that. We're getting them. It's just slow going. It's very slow going.
Why?
Because the beans are so thick. Wow. Time for a rider switch. Right for Bryson to come down, Rylan. You can kind of see what I mean here about them not feeding in real well. The beans are all leaning away from us. And if you look down there, you can kind of see some long stubble. It's just, I just can't get them cut off very good. But there's not very many pods there, or any. It's like it's stripping the pods off through the knives, but not actually cutting the beans off, so it's all right. Oh my goodness. All right. We got done with that big piece over there. We've got another little finger over here yet. I'll show you the map. We got this done. We've got to do these yet. But Tony, my Golden Harvest sales rep, is going to be here pretty quick, and we're going to do my contest entry, which is, I think, that strip over there. But I wanted to come back into these long rows and just make a couple of passes and see what we've got, see where the yield's at here, and where I should be focusing my contest entry. I mean, I'm gonna do this around here. We may jump over towards these woods and do one, and we'll see. Well, wherever I want to make it. And we're trying to find the best yielding spot in the field. The problem is they're all pretty good yielding spots in this field, so it's hard to know exactly where that is. But we'll get it figured out here and do that. And it's just slow going. There's just so much material here that we're using all the power up. And the nice thing about these rows is they run north and south instead of east-west like those other ones. So the beans are laying across the rows. And so I don't have to worry quite so much about them not feeding in, because the reel's able to grab them and pull them into the head much, much better here than when they're laying away from us. All right, time to stretch a little bit. Tony's here. We're going to do our contest stuff, and they're going to let me just use our grain cart scales. This is a internal contest, not a national corn growers thing, and so we don't have to take them in and weigh them. We're just going to use what we got. But we got a broken guard I saw, so we're going to get that one fixed. We need a knife section. We'll walk down here, make sure there's no more, and we'll get our contest entry stuff done. See what kind of yield we can get. All right, so here's the deal. We are going to make, we got to combine 1.5 acres, so we're going to make a pass through here. I think that's about 1 acre. We'll just do one back and we'll have 2 acres. It's fine. It's fine. It'll be fine. We're going to see what our yield ends up for the round here. This is the instant. This is since we unloaded, which we started this empty, but that's going to climb pretty rapidly. We're actually going to do 2, and then we're going to put them directly into a semi-truck. One in the front hopper, one in the back hopper, and Phil's going to take them up to Waldron, which is our local elevator that's right over there, about 2 miles, and have them sample them and weigh them. And so we'll get official weights, not just grain cart scale weight. It'd be a little bit more accurate that way. Harder for people to cheat, right? So we'll see. And then we'll get a measuring wheel and we'll measure the strips and how far we cut, so we have an exact number of acres. There's 100, 102. Those add up fast. They add up fast. I think we'll be close to 90. I don't know if we'll hit 90 average on these or not, but they'll be close. Oh, I forgot to show it before it reset. Maybe if I click on there. Yeah, right there. Load number 26. Says it averaged at 94.67. That's really good. Like, I can't even begin to tell you how good that is. So, we're going to jump way back down to here. So looking at my map here, we just did these couple of strips over here. We're going to jump way back to this one from the very beginning. And the only reason I really think those might be better, or that they should be as good, is because that is where I sprayed all of the stuff, right? So this strip down here, anytime I was putting something on with a sprayer, or almost anytime, it got put on there. It got fungicide on June 13th when the beans were this big, early V3 type fungicide. It got R3 fungicide on the 25th of July, something like that, end of July. And in that strip, we included the Miravis Neo, we had the Indigo insecticide, we had the Onward Max, which is a growth regulator that I put in on a few to try, and it had the Octane, which is the sugar product that we had. It also then got an R5 fungicide like 3-4 weeks later with more Miravis Neo, and I may have had some manganese or something that I put on that as well. So it's had everything. There's very little more that I could have done to it. I will tell you, the early preliminary results are telling me that those products did nothing, but we'll harvest the beans and we'll see. All right, well, we made our pass over here. These are longer rows. I think these are probably 2 acres a pass or something like that. They're about the same. 94.37 it says, and the other one was 94.67. We'll see how accurate that is once we get the actual row length and the weights from the elevator, and they'll have a moisture, which 12.6. They should be dry, so we shouldn't have any moisture correction. But yeah, that's phenomenal beans. All right, well, the boys, we had to cut the grain cart off while we were doing that because we didn't need it there. So the boys hung out with Brock and Phil and collected a bunch of soybeans. Water bottle. Now my beans aren't going to yield as good because you took them.
What is yield?
What is yield? That's the amount of soybeans that we combine per acre. Anyway, it'll be fine. So we got the contest entries harvested. Tony is going to walk them with a wheel and get an official measurement so we know exactly how many lengths. I know we took 40 feet, right? We had a full header width, so we know that width measurement. We just need a length to be able to figure out the number of acres that were harvested there. And And then once Phil, he's taking them to the elevator just uptown here. They're gonna sample the front and back hoppers separate, dump them separate, weigh in between, before, between, and after, so that we have weights on each one. Basically 2 separate tickets, and then we can figure out what they each yielded. And they may not have been 94, but they were 90 plus, I'm pretty sure, and that's really good. Okay. Well, I lost my riders. My Uncle Ron came, and boys wanted to go see Grandpa, so he's taking them to Grandpa. Grandpa doesn't know they're coming yet, but they'll be okay. And we got our entries done. Contest entry, sorry, I was pushing down here. I'm trying to get it to feed in a little better. We've got some strong crosswinds here. I need to keep the residue from blowing. We'll move our stuff over a little bit. Anyway, we're trying to keep it from piling up on that edge, like we've been fighting. We got our stuff figured out. So our yield monitor was reading a little high in those strips. I think I was driving really slow, trying to get them all. I think that speed and the flow rate, the amount of beans flowing through the combine, really affects that yield monitor, and it's not super accurate. I've never been as impressed with the yield monitor on this combine as I was on our 680, because it was dead on accurate with that combine. This one's never been that close, or it's been that close, it's just never been that consistent. And so we were a little high. That 94 didn't happen. Both entries within a bushel of each other at 86, or a touch over 86. That's really good. That is really, really good beans, and that's verified with a measuring wheel and a scale. So we'll take that, and we'll see how it does, but it is what it is, and I'm happy with it. So we got to keep trying to knock out some acres. We are 86 acres into this field of 140, which means we've got 55 to go, and I would really, really like to get them done today. It's almost 5 o'clock, so we should be able to do it, but we got to keep moving, and it's going so slow because of these thick beans that, man, it's just taking a long time. Our acres per hour is not great. We're not being very productive. So yield monitor says we're in the high 80s, mid to high 80s on the yields. Like I said, we may be a little bit high on that, but we're not off by that much. So I'm really, really happy with them. I don't think we were 10 bushel off like those strips were. I think that was just a case of driving extra slow, trying to get all the beans and not miss anything and stuff. So on a larger number of acres, they're usually quite a bit more accurate. We'll verify with grain cart scale data when we're done here, but you know, instead of 86, they may be 83. Big deal. That's still really good beans. A week or so ago, we were running some beans, and I showed you where we had a bunch of goose damage, where the geese had eaten a lot of the beans off. Well, we got another spot here that I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. There's a little pond, wetland here right next to this, and you see this big patch up here. You can't hardly, because my windows are so dirty and it's so dusty, we can't see much, but there's some beans that are actually there, but they're just very small and green. That's because the geese kept them eaten off essentially all summer until the very, very tail end of summer here, and now there's no beans on them. This big patch right here. Possible there was some groundhogs, woodchucks. I know that they do that as well, but generally when it's next to a pond like that, it's geese, not woodchucks in our case. All right, that one's done. That red spot, that's the geese damage. Back over here to these long rows, try and get those finished up, and we'll be just in the short rows there. And you can see we've done a few rounds throughout there. That was me hunting for the best beans over there, but there's just not a lot of difference between any of them. So keep her moving. What are we up to? 93. So about 45 acres to go, or a touch more. Not that you can see much because of all the dust, but can you guys see the rows here? These beans are incredible. I mean, those are 15-inch rows, and you can't tell at all that there are rows there. Crazy. You can see it a little bit up there. You look way out, but nothing right in front of us. We're moving. We're almost got the long rows done. I got 3 more passes there, and there's a little bit along the woods here, so we're gonna grab that and come up over there and make our round, and then it'll go a little faster in these shorter rows to get over there. So I did see something interesting here. I was telling you how I thought the yield monitor was off because I was driving slower. All right, so check this out. So this is the yield map, right? And you can see where the good areas are. There's a little bit in here that was more green, a couple passes here that were more green, a little bit right in there that was more green, right? Watch what happens when I click it over to the ground speed. Notice where the red areas are. Red is where I was driving slow. Yield, ground speed. Matches up almost perfectly. So clearly, there's a correlation between ground speed and the amount of material flowing through the combine and how accurate our yield monitor is. And that is why we use the grain cart scales, because it's just not accurate. And that's super frustrating, because on our 680, those active yield, once we put that on that combine, which the same monitoring system as what this combine has on it, that one was dead on. I remember one year we were, on the whole fall, we were within 200 or 300 bushels when we delivered it to what the combine said. So, yeah, I mean, these are still really good beans. I don't think we're off by much, but we will have to verify with the grain cart when we're done here. But these are above 80 bushel. We've lost our breeze. The dust is really hanging out. Look at it, just sitting on the window. Sun's going down, hanging on this window. Yeah, this is about the time when things started to get tough last night. I'm watching my spread pattern as best that I can. I can't see it real well until we turn around and see what it's doing. But as long as we're not throwing stuff into that next standing beans there, I think we'll be able to keep going. We're down to area remaining 22 acres. Whew. It's getting dusty. We had to turn our lights on. Sun setting. I think we're okay here. I can't see anything. There's a wet hole right over there. We're somewhere right in there, right on the edge of it. Yeah. So I kind of know where we're at and what to look for, but can you guys see much? I can't see much. Whew, driving into our own dust cloud. We've got just a narrow strip here, so you can't see it. There's a waterway right there that we put in a couple of years ago when this was wheat last time. Dad did a bunch of work in the low ground in the back here, mining some dirt out, kind of making a wetland in there and helping our surface drainage on this farm, and it's paying off big time. But it gives us a strip, and then we've got a waterway, and then there's a little bit more over on the other side of it. You can kind of see it here on this map where that yellow strip is, that waterway. So we've got just this block over here to do yet, and what are we at? 130 acres, almost 31. So there's not even 10 acres left to do over there. Our yield is starting to drop off a touch. This is a partial strip, so that's not accurate, but I have a feeling there's a nighttime yield monitor drag effect that we have seen other nights starting to happen here as well. So anyway, yeah, we got to jump across that waterway. Got some end rows to open up. We'll get this finished up. It is 8 o'clock now. We should be done by 9 pretty easy. All right, so I kind of forgot. I have something I needed to talk to you guys about today. Question from a comment in this morning's video, yesterday's. I'm not sure exactly when, but somebody who asked me when we got into these really good beans, right? And I had said that they're full season bean, whatever. But the comment was, why don't you just plant all that variety? Or couldn't you aren't you giving up yield or money by not just planting all that variety? And the answer is no to that question, and for several reasons. There's a lot of reasons that we don't do that, but in this particular case, if we had planted this variety on the whole farm, would they have all yielded better than what we're getting elsewhere? Well, tough to say that. This tends to be more of an offensive bean that has this really high yield potential, so I put it on our better ground. If I would put this on some ground that could have been more stressed or tougher, would it have been our best bean? Maybe, maybe not. Something else probably is better in that situation. But the more likely scenario is, what if it hadn't rained this summer? What if instead of seeing 80 bushel beans, we were averaging 45, 50, 55 bushel beans? Would these still be our best? And I don't know that they would be. Different weather, different genetics perform differently, and so that's why you don't plant all the same thing. In addition to that, this is a very full season bean. They're late maturing. It's not that we're super late combining them right now, but they're just now ready. Like, we could not have started combining these 2 weeks ago, like we did our 2.2 maturity beans, the earlier maturing ones. And so for us to get our wheat planted and get everything done timely, we need to spread out and plant a wide range of maturities to make it a wider window for harvest. So that's a big factor as well. I mean, our group 2 beans, 2.2s, still did really well. Like, we had some of those running in the high 70s. So the yield wasn't that much different. The location was not the same. Had we had those beans in this field, maybe they would have been just as good as these are. I don't know. So yeah, and then you have, you know, diseases and different things can affect different genetics differently. So it's a bad idea to just plant one variety, one corn hybrid. Even with wheat, we plant 2 to 3 different varieties just to spread that risk out, to have different maturity and harvest windows. Different planting dates will affect when things mature a little bit, and so all of that stuff plays into it. Oh, they're definitely starting to get tough. I'm starting to have issues with it pushing. I'm starting to have issues with plugging up the feed drum in there. I'll show you. If it happens again, I'll try and record it. I just turned my GoPro on there, so hopefully we'll see it, but we'll see. I mean, hopefully it doesn't happen again. That's what I mean. Somewhere over there's a boundary between our field and the neighbors. Can you guys see it? Yeah. Not sure I can either. But we do have a line on our screen that kind of gives me an idea, so I'm sort of following that. I think we were close. Well, I got there first, so. So now we reverse the head, it'll spit that stuff out. Turn it back on. And slowly inch into it. Oh yeah, we were pushing right over there, that's why.
You get this rest when we go up to the truck?
Probably, I don't know. Whoa, we are gonna make it. Look at this. What a deal. So we covered, well, we're up to 139. So I was wrong, there was just shy of 140 acres out here. 139 acres. We had 25 done in this field when we started today, so that means we did 114 today. That's a good day, especially considering that we screwed around with those yield contest entries, and we had to go slow because these beans were so thick, and just, yeah, we couldn't really go that fast combining. That's a heck of a yield map right there. Accurate or not, it's not that far off overall. Some of it is a little overstated, some of it's a little understated. When you look at the ground speed, you can see we were mostly going between 3 and 4 mile an hour. Normally I would run close to 5, if not more, and we did that for very little of this field. That's impressive. That is very, very impressive. Average for the field Right there, 84.65. But we'll verify that with cart data and the scale tickets and everything. And whew, that was a big one. So we're going to leave the equipment here overnight. I'm just driving back over here because my truck is over here somewhere. And there's a giant pile of chicken litter. That's right there. I don't want to park by that. Too awful bad. We will get stuff moved tomorrow. We're just moving right across the road. I don't think we can get there without dropping the head though, unfortunately, but that is what it is. So there is 128 acres just right over there that we're gonna try and do tomorrow. Those beans have been just a little green, hanging green, especially along the trees and stuff. So I'm hoping that we can do them all, but we will see. I know that some of them will go, and I think we'll be all right to get them. But that might be the last ones that we've got ready for a little while, so we may do that field tomorrow and then switch to corn on Wednesday, although there's a chance of rain on Wednesday, and quite frankly I hope we get it. So oh, I should wipe my windows down. Yeah, I was gonna do that. Is it better? I mean, it can't be worse. They were pretty bad. Check them out tomorrow. All right, good day. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hit that like and subscribe button. Questions, comments, leave them down below. We'll see you again tomorrow. 86. That's pretty good. That's pretty dang good. I am not upset with that.